Holy Krishna, wake up and smell the snake oil, people. Then spit it down the drain. That's what I say. It's everywhere in the form of magic pills, high pH water systems. Meanwhile, don't listen to me because I'm trying to brew the perfect cup of tea. The tea that perks my mind, yet calms my nerves, pushes the playlist into permanent shuffle. Oh, the playlist! Threatened only by the diabolical Dr. Lucha Steve Sims, who schemes to yank gems. Musical sweet MP3s by the likes of Teddy and Daryl, Mungo Jerry, Carly Simon, the Shantays, the Ventures, Janis Joplin, and yes, that brilliant duo of Ragni and Rado, and their gem from England, Claude Buzkowski. Yes, Dr. Lucha wishes to rewire my iPod with Nightmares by William Shatner, Billy Ray Cyrk, Lottie Miss Glottie, Afternoon Delights, and Disco Ducks. Wake up and smell the snake oil, people. There, I only fumbled once. Snake oil. That's what it's going to be called from now on. Snake oil, since I messed it up, it'll always be snake oil. Amen, brother.
I guess you could call our show Stammering Stan again.
I like that. That fits me very well. Stammering Stan. See, I can't even say... It's even a tongue twister for me. I can't even say stammering Stan without stumbling over it. I was not made for radio, yet I'm doing it anyways.
Well, it's podcasting. You don't have to worry
about it. It's podcasting. That's what's so sweet about it. It's just this wild west frontier. It's the beauty of it. Anybody can do a radio show now thanks to podcasting. It's beautiful. Hope the FCC never tries to jump on all this crap and ruin everybody's fun, because I think the average Joe is having more fun than ever before thanks to podcasting.
So, Kurt, you want to talk about Strike Force?
About Strike Force? Oh, geez.
You know why I'm bringing that up, right?
Oh, are you bringing it up because it was covered on the Conan interview today?
You know how 30 seconds into the show, it's like Brian goes, I want to get to Strike Force in a bit, but first, I was like, shit, 30 seconds in.
What I enjoy most about hearing Conan on Brian Alvarez's show is we get the rare luxury of hearing Brian quizzed at the end of the show.
That's actually the best part. You know the funny thing? I think Conan does more conversation than Brian actually does. Because like you were saying earlier before we were on the show, Brian kind of just wants the guest to give out their points or whatever and doesn't really have a comeback. So.
Yeah, well, Brian has the art, in my opinion, Brian has the art of interviewing on a podcast down. What I learned from being on other podcasts and of us doing our own podcast is those famous, those infamous areas where there's dead air and you don't know exactly what to do.
Or they're talking over each other.
Yeah, or the verb that you created called meltzering, which is a brilliant verb.
Let me do it at least once during the show. We'll do it later when Brian...
Yeah, if I will do it right now as we talk over each other.
Yeah, we should just talk over each other.
That, my friends, that we're doing it right now. That's meltzering. But Brian knows how to make the show move, and I think I never really appreciated it until I listened to other podcasts. I have another great luxury in that I work at a job where I'm doing a lot of filing, and I know a lot of people say that doesn't sound very luxurious, but it's in a room without a lot of other people, so I can pluck on my headphones and listen to podcasts all day. So I hear top-rate podcasts, and I hear very amateurish ones, and carrying on a show and keeping the continuum going, letting it flow and knowing how to interview somebody is more difficult than I thought. Another person, and he's our buddy, and I'm not just saying this because he's our pal, but the Bixie Demon, David Bixenspan, also does a very, very good interview.
Yeah, it's one of the things, and I always forget about that because, you always want to hear specific questions being asked, but then you forget that sometimes, there's that what you were saying, there's that, you don't want that 30 seconds of silence, and you don't want that talking over one another.
Yes, and that's harder to do than I ever imagined it would be until I started, we started doing the podcast here.
Yeah, the only bad thing is you don't want to do a show before your other show and talk about, I forgot to ask this question, I forgot to.
Oh, exactly. I think, I don't know about you, but I think even though we filled so much in every show we've done, after each episode, I remember at least two things I wish I had brought up.
Yeah. There's always a bunch of stuff we don't bring up. Like, I mean, at least the movies, at least every single episode, we don't bring up any of the movies that you're going to bring up.
That's so true. That's so true. They usually have to wait a few episodes till they finally, get the center stage.
And then there was my Triple Mania review that kept going on, and I finally gave up on it. And just
You tapped out on your own review.
Yeah, I just wrote about it.
That was a good review, though. I didn't think you overdid it. I don't.
Just really long, because reviews are really long, though. So.
Yeah. Now, like you were saying, the Conan interview, he is very conversational. The thing I like about Conan is I will watch AAA this weekend.
Uh-huh.
And I would bet you anything. Afterwards, I'm going to say, why did I watch that? That wasn't that great. But I think he does such a good selling job of convincing people there's a reason to watch AAA.
Yeah, I disagree with you.
And you say...
Yeah, we were talking about this, that I disagreed with you.
Yeah, you disagree with that, right?
Yeah. I disagree with you because he basically compared... He was talking about, he got to the point where he's talking about TNA. We'll talk about some of the other stuff he talked about, but he's talking about TNA, and he's talking about how there's no flow in any of the storylines, and how there's no middle, there's no ending, and then he talks about how there's no middle. And if you watch AAA, you could pretty much find a bunch of storylines. I mean, you already know about at least one that never had an ending.
Yes. I agree with you on that. I agree with you. The content is there is not that flow that you're talking about. You are absolutely right. But if I had not watched AAA for the last few months, and I heard him talking about AAA on the show today, I would sit there saying, whoa, the way he's talking about it sounds like there's really something worth watching.
You still wouldn't watch it. You still wouldn't watch it because Dr. Lucha and I talk about it all the time on the show. Still don't watch it.
Well, this is where I have to thank people like you. This is where I get to thank people like you and Dr. Lucha and Brian Alvarez, Shoulders Torelli, and Dave Meltzer. I have to thank you guys because you watch those shows, and I don't have to watch them. I can listen to all you guys recap them, and so you guys are suffering, so I don't have to. And I thank you for that.
And that's the thing. Like, I actually have no problem with Brian. If he would have said, I don't watch it because I'm sick and tired of TNA. I'm sick and tired of watching more wrestling, and I kind of have had enough. But I mean, it's like certain stuff he didn't ask him about the Conan, the Cibernetico feud, which was all over YouTube a couple of days ago, and it's still going on, which was basically, I think that would have been the starting point for the interview.
That would have been very good to bring up. I did not even think about that until after hearing the podcast. You're absolutely right.
and I mean, even Brian brought it up with Dr. Lucha, so...
That was actually really fun hearing the Dr. Lucha interview and knowing that the Conan interview had not aired yet.
Yeah,
but it had been recorded. That was really fun.
I think he should have put the Conan interview first before he...
I like that. That was funny. That was great.
Because then we already knew he was going to ask the question, so it's like, okay, we don't know. Kurt, I have to ask you, do you know who Pathfinder is?
I have been wondering ever since.
Oh, so you don't know? But
because for people who did not hear the Conan interview, wasn't it a reader wrote in and an email and asked who Pathfinder was and nobody had a clue?
Yeah, he asked whatever happened to Pathfinder. And I know Conan wouldn't know because he basically has said he didn't watch AAA before he joined it. And Brian I can understand because, Pathfinder was one of the undercard guys. But, I mean, the guy is, now he wrestles as Oz. So... That's a little bit.
So there's your answer, folks. You got your answer right here on Slammin' Stan.
Robbie Hari brought up how they should have asked, the follow-up question to that should have been, do you know who Oz is? Did you
Flashdance. Pathfinder. I don't know.
Yeah, did you hear about, he was talking about Hogan, and he was talking about how Hogan can't hog every segment. And I just started laughing when I...
That was interesting.
I was like, okay. Conan did that the first, while he's still kind of... I think he's kind of cut back recently, but he was doing that early on when he first showed up in AAA.
Yeah. Well, this is a reminder that I do have to start catching up on my AAA.
Yeah.
Now, that said, that that is the wonderful thing about doing a podcast like this, is we make no commitments to watch AAA, CMLL, or any other wrestling show on a weekly basis.
Only we charge. If we charge, we probably would.
If we charge, we would. We'd probably feel obligated to.
I think one of us would watch it at least.
Again, that's why I thank Brian and Vinny. So, because I have more fun listening to them review Raw and TNA than I would ever have watching the shows. It's more fun hearing people review it than it is actually to watch it.
Well, I think with TNA, I can totally agree with that because I've tried watching TNA and it's just like, and Raw recently with the GM thing, I can't sit through it. Yeah, the GM thing is a flop. Although I have to confess, I did enjoy the Ozzy Osbourne segments. Oh, you did watch that one? I missed. I didn't watch the whole show. I won't lie. I did not watch the whole show, but I watched parts of it, and I thought Ozzy and Sharon Osbourne were rather enjoyable. Nothing brilliant, mind you. Nothing, nothing earth-shattering, but I thought they were pretty funny. You know the other thing I just realized? I was looking at what I was going to talk about, and I realized, why didn't they ask Conan? Why didn't Brian ask Conan if Val Venus was heading to AAA? No, did he ask? I don't think he asked. I was just curious. He didn't have to. I mean, I don't think he would have answered, but I mean, I just realized that because remember there's this whole controversy where Val Venus is heading. Where he is that he might be heading to AAA. He might be heading to CMLL. His wife had a baby. Yeah. Well, we have a phone call. But maybe if only we could get Conan on here. But I don't think we have that kind of clout. Oh, okay. He'll make us beg. Maybe we could do it. Well, last week... Kurt, we got a caller, man. What are you talking about? You got to... Already? We have a caller? Yeah. Who's there? Oh, we got music. Oh, no. He's already doing it. Oh, no! No! That's Dr. Lucha, the diabolical man. He's already torturing me with Celine Dion's My Heart Will Go On.
Boy, you can have a miserable time at the file cabinets.
Oh my God, you know what you did? You blindsided me. You sucker punched me. Yeah. I hear no static anywhere. You know what? He used a different number, too. Where are you at, Dr. Lucha?
I'm in the north side of San Diego.
Oh, no wonder. Oh, my God.
The dreaded 858 area code. There is no move for the 858 area code.
Yeah. Isn't that a song, On the North Side of San Diego, it's the baddest part of town. And if you go down there, you just better beware of a man called Dr. Lucha.
I just had to butt in now because you guys have been discussing the topic and dancing around the solution to your problems, at least until Kurt loses his iPod and his playlist in 11 months.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear.
And that is Roz de Lona. The greatest television.
Tell us. Oh, I watch that all the time. But
this is, my opinion, the best television show for wrestling anywhere the last 3 months. Yeah. Any promotion anywhere. It's great, and you can get it downloaded straight to your iPod. You don't have to go on the internet. You don't have to watch it on the internet, but you can Monday nights.
And it's only 25 minutes long too.
And it's interesting, and they have the amazing ability to make everybody on it look like a normal person and a baby face.
Yeah. Now, where is the site where we can download this?
Well, if you go to your iPod or iTouch and or iPhone and just type in Roz de Lona, it will be the only search result that comes up.
Oh, my Lord. Okay,
Or it's under MVS, as in Multiple Victory Solution Television.mx.
I will be in so much trouble at work because I am going to bring my iPod with me and I'm going to be trying to watch the show while they're trying to make me work. God damn it.
I can't believe that. The last time you poked through those file cabinets, you got Sheriff Mike Corona fired.
It was a loser leave town. And Mike Corona must leave town forever. And you know what forever is?
Until he wins the next election.
Forever is a long
we didn't even talk about Conan going into politics. You actually think it's a great idea?
I think it would be a great idea. Actually, I think what would be you heard the interview, didn't you, Steve?
I've heard everything.
Now, what I think would even be better...
Maybe that finally that Hall of Fame biography is about to get done, too.
Oh, I'm looking forward to seeing that. When Conan said that he's thinking about getting into politics, what I would think would be even more effective than him running for office would be to be the spokesperson for somebody running for office.
Yeah.
Because I think he could get that person over like gangbusters, and not just in some, over-the-top interview type of way. I think he could actually make people just flock to the polls to vote for this guy.
He and I live in the same hometown, so basically when we go to the polls, we have the same ballot with the possible exception of a city council district or two in Chula Vista. And it's like a lot of suburbs in Southern California. It's owned by real estate and business interests, and who they prop up in the polls who's going to win. So,
we're feeling that squeeze here in the city of Walnut, which is right next to the city of Industry, which is right where that guy wants to plant that football
squeeze and walnuts
stadium.
in the same sentence, did you?
I'm sorry?
You used squeeze and walnuts in the same sentence.
I did, didn't I? Oh my God! And I didn't even mean to.
We have another caller too on the line.
Is this the Bixie Demon?
Yep.
The Bixie Demon is back.
And shocked that Steve's phone sounds normal.
Yeah,
I know, isn't this awesome? We have 4 people on the phone, and there's no crackling. This is beautiful, as Dr. Jerry Graham would say.
The question is, do I sound normal?
You've never sounded normal.
No more than
part
usual.
of your charm, Dr. Lucha.
Thanks so much. Conan can go into politics if he wants, but if he's going into Chula Vista politics, he's going to have to sell his soul to the developers.
I think he means Mexico, though.
If he means Mexico, then he's going to have to sell his soul to the PRI or the PAN, but that's another story altogether.
Steve, so is Mexico that nice?
I'm sorry?
You live closer than we do to Mexico. How dangerous is it?
I can see it from here.
How dangerous is it? Can you see the war?
Well, the last story I heard is the last guy who crossed the last guy the drug smugglers didn't like. They hung him up by his throat and cut off his balls and taped his balls to his face.
Oh, God. That's creative.
That's quite rude, though.
Actually, that's been about 3 or 4 weeks ago, but that was a very famous story that got around. And yes, there's a reason why I have not crossed the border even to put 1 foot across the border in a good 6 months. I used to go all the time.
But here's the question: you think if we stepped across the border, hopped into one of the taxis, and said "Auditorio," that there'd be problems? Do you think?
Nah, probably not.
Are they still running the Auditorio?
The odds are slim.
Because I was starting to wonder here, Dr. Lucha, is it that you're not crossing the border because you're one of the renowned drug dealers who they're trying to get?
Well, that can always be true, yes. I'm trying to get.
I always knew you looked dangerous. I
had kidney stone surgery in January, and I'm trying to get those stupid diuretics at an incredibly cheap price. So drug smuggling diuretics, that'll do it.
That's why you live so close to the border. You got so tired of having to take a Baja cruise just so you could step off the boat and go to those pharmacies that are right
when I moved to Chula Vista in '98, it was really convenient to go across and get the news, and that was all you could do to get the news because none of the Mexican newspapers or magazines had anything on the Internet. There weren't podcasts, there weren't radio shows. If you wanted to find out who won the main event, you had to cross the border and find out and grab and buy Ovaciones when it came up from Mexico City.
Isn't it weird to think
now you don't need to.
Yeah, isn't it weird to think how the Internet has changed just reality in a short time? I first got on the Internet, it was, I think, 16 years ago.
I don't know. The Cubs fan has a great website, and they still haven't won a World Series in 100 years.
Well, you can only push reality so much.
And we won't even comment on the Maple Leafs. But anyway, yes.
Yeah, and reality is also extremely overrated.
That sounds like a Johnny Legend quote.
It does, although I made it up.
How do we know you and Johnny Legend aren't the same person? When was the last time anybody saw either of you in the same place?
Hey,
or the both of you?
This is true, and I think we're about the same height. No, wait a minute, he's taller. We have about the same amount of facial hair. No, that's not right either.
Well, maybe Bixie and you are, maybe Bixie's Johnny Legend.
That's
why,
possible.
we're both Jewish?
Hey, I do know that Johnny Legend goes to the East Coast a lot. That's where his significant other and his daughter live.
We're both Hebrews.
That's right, yes.
You're both wearing Yankees jerseys with 27 on the back of them?
No.
You know, we really have to get a hold of Johnny Legend. There's so much to talk about. We need to get him on this podcast one of these days.
Anyway, when I so rudely butted in with my beautiful song, one of the many songs that will be on the new iPod come next October.
Uh-oh.
Not to bring it around. You know, originally my idea was you and me having a bowling contest for this. Cosmic bowling at Diamond Bar Lanes.
Oh, yes, with multicolored pins. Oh, joy. Just what I always wanted to do. How glorious.
But, you know, it's rare that I watch a TV show where something interesting doesn't happen, whether either it's a Ray Cometa dive of the century and or Brazo de Plata blowing up after 30 seconds, or it's just the same match for the fifth straight week in AAA.
Well, Porky's improving his cardio then. 30 seconds?
Yeah, 30 seconds. He's moving up.
I think that beats Kurt now.
No, I still agree with what I said yesterday. I'm still not sure it's not real. It's not like murder to send him out there and have him die in the ring.
Maybe that's the real reason Mexico is the most dangerous place in the world. Maybe Conan's right. It's all hype as far as the drug runners go, but the real danger is the athletic commission will pass anybody.
I don't think I could pass.
The athletic commission used to pass Dr. Jerry Graham every year. And that's not a lie.
No, that's true. And in the 80s, they passed Road Warrior Hawk, and nobody could believe that. Nobody could believe that.
Yeah, didn't he get barred from wrestling in New Jersey?
When WCW was trying to come out here. Well, there was a state, I forget for the life of me, but there was a state where a commissioner or a doctor finally put his foot down and said no.
I think it was in the Meltzer bit for Hawk that it was in New Jersey or something.
Yeah.
He had like a regular heartbeat or something.
Wow.
His blood pressure was just gigantically off the roof, and doing those interviews certainly didn't help.
Well.
So anyway, are we going to do the Legend of Tim Talltree or not?
Oh, Tim Talltree. I am glad you got us on track with that. Because
here's one I'm going to have to be quiet because I know nothing of Tim Talltree.
Well, I know he's Kurt's favorite Ernesto.
Yeah, he is definitely my favorite Ernesto, and I think he's most people's favorite Ernesto. He was
not mine. I grew up in Atlanta where the Assassins were.
Oh, dear.
Oh, by the way,
reason to get the stipulation match going.
By the way, wait, before you start, though, I need to ask Steve, have you seen the film from the 60s that came out a couple of years ago of Assassin stuff?
No, I have not seen that. Not to the best of my knowledge, I haven't.
Okay, email me and I will send you that.
Okay.
I'll send you the DVD because you would love this stuff. It's all really short clips, but it's really
cool that there's something exists, though. That is really cool.
It was
That's
funny,
how they were best.
Go ahead.
Oh, Tim Talltree was easily, and like I said, this will be cause for our feud to even further, and I will eventually have to give you Physico Nuclear's phone number because I think you're going to have to sick him on me so we can square off and put my locks and my iPod up against his mask. But Tim Talltree, one of the coolest things about the Win tapings in 1989 was Tim Talltree reemerged on the Southern California wrestling scene. I first saw Tim Talltree in 1981. I was actually living up in Oregon at the time, and I saw this name Tim Talltree on all the programs, and I had a vague memory of seeing his name on results, I believe in the Detroit area several years earlier. I thought it was a funky name, especially for 1981. It was a kind of way-out name. So when I came down for spring break, I went to the Olympic Auditorium one night, and I came in the middle of his match. And I believe, if I remember correctly, he was actually wrestling his brother who was doing the assassin gimmick. And Tim Talltree just had the biggest Eddie Van Halen hair you had ever seen. And this skinny but wide, solid, wiry body, and he just had these very mellow eyes, but just worked like a motherfucker. I mean, this guy was good. And even before the match was over, I just thought, this guy's too cool. And, of course, in my naive mind, I was wondering why they're not pushing him, but part of the reason, obviously, was because he wasn't the biggest guy in the promotion. But still considered they gave him a half-decent push. Anyway, after the LaBelle promotion folded, Talltree was out of the area. In fact, I think he might have even left before the promotion folded. And didn't hear about him for a number of years. I think I saw his name in some Tennessee results. He was hanging in that area for a while, probably when his father was booking. And then in 1989, the Win tapings, you know, with no notice or anything, I just show up at San Bernardino Arena, and we're just enjoying ourselves, and I see Tim Talltree walk into the ring, and I just thought, holy shit, this is too cool. And now his hair was like down to shoulder length, frizzy, and he was always in the role of as a babyface in the LaBelle promotion, and they suddenly called him they suddenly made him heel. And I love Johnny Legend. Whenever Johnny Legend would book him on one of his own shows, he would add the moniker, the Twisted Tonto, Tim Talltree. And Talltree had the coolest, like, homemade leather boots that he wore. He looked like some sort of, like, little psychedelic caveman or something like that. And this guy, it was now 1989, and where in 1981, he was kind of one of the, underlings in the LaBelle promotion. In 1989, he quickly gained respect by everybody in the dressing room. And I won't name who it is, but somebody tried to goad him into a fight in the dressing room, and he just talked the guy down and says, if you're going to do it, let's go. And the wrestler who had a reputation for not backing down, backed down pretty quickly. And people dug him for that. A lot of the local Mexican wrestlers really dug him because he was working on a Lucha show. I think it was promoted by Bobby Bradley's parents, if I recall, in Santa Ana. And there was this huge guy, I can't remember what his name was, but he was this big-ass biker guy. One of these guys who had a couple of wrestling lessons, and they were already giving him matches and, trying to push him to the top because he was big. And Superboy was telling me that, the biker came in, he was running down all the Mexicans, calling them every derogatory term he could think of. And he was working with Talltree that night, and I guess Talltree just very flatly said to one of the luchadors, well, I think it's time to go fuck somebody up. And they said he got this biker who was twice his size and just schooled him like there was no tomorrow. And, I can't even remember the biker's name, so I can pretty much tell you. That probably cured him of wanting to be a wrestler. But all the Mexican wrestlers, the local boys, loved Talltree for that.
Well, Joe Hamilton in his book said that Tom Ernesto Sr. was a really tough shooter, that he didn't let it on, so I would think that maybe he taught his son well.
He did teach his son well, and I know of several other occasions where wrestlers who were much bigger than Talltree thought, here's this little run, I'll stretch him, regretted it. He wouldn't think twice. If you were trying to really hurt him, he wouldn't think twice about hooking your eye. But he was a very nice guy, very unassuming. In fact, you mentioned Bix that Hamilton said, he didn't make a big deal of it, and that was Talltree. He was the old Teddy Roosevelt adage of walk softly but carry a big stick. It was the perfect way to discuss Tim Talltree. Describe Tim Talltree.
Do you think Conan remembers him? You don't think he does?
What Fredo is referring to.
Well, I'm just asking. I just want to know if we could email Brian and have him ask Conan if he remembers Tim Talltree.
He would remember Tim Talltree, yes, definitely.
You don't have to go into detail about it. You don't want to get in trouble, since we know you don't want to tell us the real story.
Well, this is a story I was not actually there, but I heard from two different witnesses, and they weren't together telling the story with each other in tow, so this was independently corroborated. There was a match involving Jim Talltree, I don't know who he is teaming with, and they were wrestling Conan and Rey Mysterio Sr. I believe this was 1990. And I guess Talltree messed up a high spot, which was actually kind of rare, and I guess Conan started getting rough on him. And Talltree just hooked his eye and just held him down and wouldn't let him go. So that's
the legend of Tim Talltree.
Tim Talltree, yeah. Don't fuck with him.
Sounds a lot more interesting than his brother.
His brother was not a good worker at all.
Tom Branch, Tom Ernesto Jr.
Oh.
You ever see him headlining in Memphis?
Yeah, I remember him.
I remember think he got a couple of dates in at World Class.
Yeah, that's right. I remember him from that, something like that.
But his dad booked him on top in Memphis, and it was terrible.
Oh God, they didn't push him on top here in L.A., but they gave him enough of a push where it further ruined the credibility of the promotion.
There was one good match that they got out of it, though. I think it was Branch versus Lawler in a hair match, and it's like they do a comedy match out of it, though. It's like I think it's maybe Ernesto Sr. keeps passing him foreign objects, and he keeps failing, and eventually with them. And eventually he loses the match and gets his head.
That's actually kind of cute. And only in Memphis.
Yeah. But yeah, aside from being the first heel promoter that I know of, the Tom Ernesto booking run in Memphis was not that good.
Yeah, he had. It's funny. I heard he booked really well in Puerto Rico. I heard he did a good job there.
When was he booking there?
Oh, I don't even know. There's a famous tape somewhere, though, where I think it's Hanson and Brody take a brawl into the men's room in Puerto Rico, and there's Tom Ernesto taking a piss in the urinal. And I guess Stan Hansen just looks at the camera and said, that's not the first time Tom Ernesto's been caught with his pants down.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, I who was it? Steve Gerber was the one who had that tape. He used to love to talk about that.
I'm not sure if that is the best or second best Stan Hansen moment on videotape involving urinals. Let's see if you know what the other one is.
I do not know what the other one is.
Steve, Fredo, do you guys know?
Is it the Missy Hyatt one?
No, which?
I can't believe you guys don't know this. No Holds Barred.
I didn't hear.
Oh, No Holds Barred, where Stan Hansen sees the meek TV executives at the trophy urinal and starts going, that's a teeny wiener.
Bix, we're old, man. We don't remember anything.
I'm younger than all of you.
Yeah,
and No Holds Barred was one I never attempted to take on.
You've never seen No Holds Barred?
Not to say the heavy metal story for the 50th straight time.
The heavy metal story?
Yeah, him and Woman.
No Holds Barred, I saw like when it first came out years ago.
It used to get played on TV a lot, though.
Yeah.
And we'd always see it.
It was so bad I stopped watching.
Bix, how come I can't find your email on your own website?
So you don't get spam. Right, Bix, so you don't get spam?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Well, you can hide it somehow.
Yeah, I have the comment system if anyone really needs to.
Well, how can I send you an email about the Assassin's footage?
Well, I'll email you. I have your email.
Okay.
I have your email.
Send it on one of the message boards. You could just post it on your message board or something.
Yeah.
Go to DVDR and post it.
That's not mine.
So what was Bill Dundee really like?
He's very all business. Listening, talking with him, he's like, it's not a terrible interview at all, but he's hard to sort of get talking and really get a flow to it. But
he hasn't kept up with modern stuff?
Not really, but that didn't matter to me that much, but, and he would go off a few times, though, 10 years ago I wouldn't have done an interview like this, blah, blah, blah. But, this fucking internet and these dirt sheets. And Someone told me he was afraid, after he listened, that he was afraid that Bill Dundee was going to blame the fall of wrestling on me.
Well, a typical old-timer response. Well, here's a question for both.
I was going to blame it on Kurt, but I'll blame it on you if you want.
I'm going to take the blame for everything.
Well, Kurt co-booked Incredibly Strange Wrestling, though, so you can argue that he did help create sports entertainment as we know it.
So do any of you know who Dandy Jack Crawford was?
Yes.
That is going to be, and the future manager is going to be Dandy Jack Alvarez. Did Brian Alvarez sound so enamored?
He likes that name, Dandy Jack. It's
a great name. It's awesome.
Especially if you've seen the ugly guy behind it. He's 5'2", 125 pounds, bald, with the worst teeth in human history.
Oh, God. Oh, my God. Somebody who made Jack Pfeffer look like a piece.
Now, Steve, I don't know if you were talking with us at the time that or was that when I don't know if it was when Kurt was on my show, that we talked about Joe Hamilton claiming that he had a 2.5-hour match with Dick Steinborn.
Yeah, that was you guys on the Hall of Fame.
Okay, now
discussion.
Since you were living there, then do you have any idea if that's true?
I never heard of a match going more than 60 minutes in Georgia. Okay. I never heard them personally claim it on TV, and I think I watched most every TV I could possibly watch between 65 and 76.
Now, did you get the Macon Columbus shows too, or just the Atlanta show?
My mom is from the Macon area, just about 40 miles away. So when we were in that area, I would be able to see it. But you could not get the show from Atlanta.
Okay.
You couldn't get Macon in Atlanta. So I would only see it 4 or 5 times a year.
I mean, I do doubt it, and I've always been
Steve Beverly would know for sure. He knows everything about all southeastern wrestling during that time frame, but
I've always been curious if all those matches that people talk about being longer than an hour, longer than 90 minutes, went close to that. Dory Funk Sr.'s Texas Death Matches or whatever.
Well, one thing I did hear is I heard that there were a lot of matches that did go some extraordinary length of time, but it's almost like, thank God they were not caught on tape, because I heard rest holds. We thought they were, bad in the 80s. Apparently there could be some, painful rest holds when they wanted to push a long match. The other thing I remember them doing in the LaBelle territory, and I assume they might have done this in other areas, was if they were going to have something go a 1-hour Broadway and the crowd was getting restless and, the workers weren't, hot enough to go an hour, they would suddenly ring the bell at 40 minutes and claim it was an hour.
That reminds me.
I don't know about that in Atlanta, but Biggs will remember this for how many, many times it was used in the San Martino area. Not that you're that old, but
yeah.
in Atlanta in the 60s and 70s, before the Omni was built, they actually did have a legit curfew for sporting events of 11 o'clock. That changed once Major League Baseball came to town and they got the Atlanta Braves, and it became obviously ridiculous. But that used to be a fairly standard finish in Atlanta and obviously in Madison Square Garden in the 60s and early 70s of just ending the match at curfew.
They did it at least into the 80s. I know I've seen a British Bulldogs Art Foundation match that was a curfew draw. So I don't know if they still had a curfew then or not, but was the curfew tied to the 14 and under thing that they had, or
no? It had to do. It was the only place in Atlanta, and this is really opening up a can of
I meant for the Garden though,
discussion. Yeah. It was the only place in Atlanta where black and white people were permitted to enter at the same doors and leave at the same doors.
Oh wow!
And the last bus is left 11:15, 11:30 at that particular time in Atlanta, and they were really afraid of not getting the people out the door and back on their way home, and just have them hanging around and doing whatever in an area where it wasn't socially appropriate for the races to mix.
That's lovely.
But this is 1960 Southern U.S. I mean,
well,
that's what it was.
I know.
Yeah, different ages, which which reminds me that yesterday, November 11th, marked 2 different national days. National Vanilla Cupcake Day, but it's also National Mix It Up at Lunch Day. So you mix up...
What didn't the veterans rate a third day yesterday?
Yeah, they kind of jumped in and did a run-in on those on that great holiday acknowledging cupcakes and mix it up. So you take the vanilla cupcake and mix it up, and you have this sweet mocha cake afterwards. That's what it's all about, baby. That's the modern era.
The veterans already have another holiday, though. It's called Memorial Day. They shouldn't have 2 holidays. 6 months apart.
Yeah, I'm old enough to remember when my folks at least used to call this Armistice Day.
Really?
Yeah.
I think we should have equal time and have like an Abby Hoffman Day.
What happened to Fredo? You there, Fredo?
Yeah, I'm asleep now.
Our conversation is stimulating, is it not?
No, it's fine. I'm just letting you guys talk. I don't want to interrupt you guys.
Do you remember 60-minute matches in El Paso or 90-minute?
I don't remember any 2.5-hour matches. I mean, I was like, geez, that's ridiculous. There's no way there's a 60. I can't even sit through a 60-minute match nowadays.
So, Steve Sims, are you still in touch with Conan in any way?
You could say that, yes.
Really? So you have a contact with him?
I have gone along. It appears that we have reinitiated contact, yes.
Oh, excellent. So you can ask him the Tim Talltree question.
But before you do that, ask him to steal tapes from Televisa.
Yeah. Now he'll probably kick my ass for
I'm sorry,
talking about
it. I'm just going to have to wait for the Psycho Circus question.
Oh, me and my big mouth.
He's got a rule. He's got to go with Psycho Circus first. You got to find out how many wins.
Psycho Circus, then Tim Talltree. That has a ring to it. Psycho Circus, Tim Talltree.
You know, Fredo, you have talked about Conan and Juarez wrestling in the late 70s, early 80s, and Eddie Guerrero. Have you ever mentioned on Slamming Stan the name Cinta de Oro?
No, we actually haven't. And he's still wrestling, too.
Isn't he like the Juarez local legend of all time?
He's like of the guys who never really left. Like even for a tour, he was actually the main guy. No, because he was the guy who feuded with Rocky Star and Crazy whatever, you know.
Crazy 33.
Yeah, his 2 gimmicks. I think he feuded with both gimmicks.
Steve Beverly was Crazy 33.
Steve Beverly, he loved Crazy, that game named 33. He still wants to know what happened to Crazy 1 through 32.
Well, there was a 32, wasn't there, for a while? I think there was.
Yes, there was.
Yeah.
Crazy 33 was an awesome heel.
Yeah.
He didn't even have to do that much wrestling on those win shows. He was just a really good, effective heel.
Well, you know the best part of Juarez...
But, man, they jobbed him out in a hurry when he went to Mexico City. He was good. But I mean,
was good. You mean when he was doing the Rocky Star gimmick?
Uh-huh.
Well, they put him under a hood. I forget who it was with when they took the hood off Cesar Dantes as All-Star, and Rocky Star was in there, and suddenly
I remember they announced his name as Luis Ayes, which is not his name, is it?
That is a pretty good name. You know,
it is a cool name, but I don't think that's his name.
I actually remember seeing him drop his mask in Juarez too. So that was a little confusing for me. I was like, "What the hell?" Because it was like one of those. That was actually the first time I found out about the, guys dropping masks in multiple places. That was actually the first time I had seen that. But he was. I mean,
how many times have you seen a Hurricane Ramirez lose his mask?
Oh,
which one?
I think Kurt, didn't you wrestle one of the Hurricane Ramirez? we were at a show where I think it was
Hurricane Ramirez 33.
Yeah,
there you go.
Hurricane Ramirez was like, I think he was drinking Jack Daniels at one show.
Which show was this? I don't remember this.
Arena Paraguay when they were passing out Miller Lite, he offered
Jack
Daniels.
Yes. I can't even remember which Hurricane Ramirez that was. He made the rounds frequently, though.
Yeah, because he worked and then I guess he was told not to wrestle as Hurricane Ramirez on that show, so he became Legionario. Then
was this the famous one, Ruben Garcia?
No, this is over here in this is one of the recent guys.
Arena Paraguayo in 2005.
Oh, Punky Boy under another hood.
Punky Boy. Oh, I always talked about being his tag team partner, Honky
But
Boy.
wait, I want to hear a Cinta de Oro story so we can get some Fredo memories in here. So tell us about Cinta de Oro.
He was my favorite wrestler back then. But I always dug his mask and everything. But I don't have any stories. I was a kid back then.
But those are the best stories. Who was his big rival?
His big rival? Lucky Star. Who else?
Was he the one who unmasked?
Yeah, I think he was. I think it was either him or Eddie Guerrero, wasn't it?
Well, I'm asking you.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't remember any of this stuff, man. I was a kid. I don't keep up with any of this stuff.
I hate to tell you, Fredo, but some of my most vivid wrestling memories are when I was a kid, and I didn't know about work rates and how things were done.
And that was what was so enjoyable about wrestling. You didn't understand working.
My God, Dory Funk Jr. is coming to town, and he's actually putting up the title against Mr. Wrestling #2.
Yeah, John Tolis is coming. John Tolis is coming. Who's John Tolis? But Dick Lane could convince you that the second coming was upon arrival. I mean, that's what I loved about being a kid and not understanding anything about work rate. You could see a worker who you later learned was a horrible worker, but you didn't know that when you were a kid. You're just saying, this guy's bitching. He's dressed up like a wolf. He's a zombie or a spaceman. This is bitchin'.
You hear guys talk about Fishman, how much he sucked and everything. He was like the biggest guy. He was one of the big stars in Juarez. So I'm like, I don't know. I thought he was great, when I was a kid. I mean, I don't have any, negative. That's the one bad thing I noticed with, when you're covering Lucha Libre, people want you to remember, was Pero Aguayo awful or was he good? And it's like, he was great. I mean, I don't remember anything about work rate or anything like that.
Oh, yeah. I remember every week watching Channel 13 hoping that Brother Joseph and Brother Jerome, the Peace Brothers, would win a match. They were like the hippie jobbers from Big Sur, California. And I later learned that they were weak workers. Yeah. I was 10 years old. I didn't give a crap. I wanted them to kick ass. I wanted Berkeley to thrive. I wanted it to be a hippie nation on Channel 13.
And I know what you're saying, Kurt, and I know what you're saying, Fredo, but even I could tell at the age of, 13 or 14.
Oh, yeah. You could tell
Jack Briscoe was way, way, way more talented than the Assassins.
Actually,
a reason he was in the NWA World Heavyweight Championship title match almost every other month at the Omni or in wherever. Actually,
it's funny that you bring up Jack Briscoe because there's two names I will mention that even at 10 years old I knew there was something different about them. I couldn't tell you what, but Jack Briscoe came in to do a TV shot on a Wednesday night, and the other was Raul Mata, who was a mid-card babyface, but probably one of the most dynamic workers and greatest baby faces ever. And not knowing any terms like work rate, baby face, heel, when I saw Briscoe and when I saw Mata, I thought, okay, there's something different about these dudes than the rest of the pack. There's just, I know the terms for it now. They were just kick-ass workers.
Yeah.
But when I was a kid, it's like, whoa, these guys are, alive. These guys,
It's like when I was a kid, Hulk Hogan was, the big thing, and then, when you first discover Ric Flair, that's you see the difference, Ricky Steamboat, all those guys. You see the difference, but, you still enjoy the other guys just as much. I was a fan of Nikita Koloff, and I didn't think about work rate. I knew he wasn't going to give have a great match, but I didn't know, 3 stars, 4 stars. Like when we were talking about Tiger Mask.
Yes, exactly.
I wouldn't, when I was a kid, I wouldn't have said, that match sucked. It kind of, you didn't really like it, but it's not like, I'm going to nitpick it to the point where it's like,
Exactly. There's something I was going to bring up with you, Steve Sims, is...
That's why I blame Dr. Lucha and Dave Meltzer and all of you guys.
You ruined the beauty of it for us, damn it.
That's why I get so many emails.
The beauty will be restored next October around Halloween.
Oh, there we go. I think the match is going to happen, folks.
Uh-oh.
I remember you and I a number of years ago were discussing the way they would work a gradual babyface change in Georgia, and as I recall, was it the Torres brothers who were originally heels and gradually got turned babyface?
I only remember them as baby faces now, but that could have been. It wouldn't be a surprise when they were first brought in if they were brought in as heels, because the Infernos had left, the Medics were still there on top, and the Medics were the ticket sellers, and they were the top baby faces.
Well, one of the things
that could have been just that their athleticism of the Torres convinced Paul Jones he had it reversed.
Because what I remember you telling me something about, I believe it was a tag team that was gradually turning babyface, and it was so subtle, it included the way they dressed week by week, the outfits they wore.
Well, the Torres brothers did do a lot. Yes, they did. Enrique was the older brother and the famous one, the one who had actually had the big career going back to the 40s, and he was very black trunk. But Alberto and Ramon were much more flamboyant for that era. I mean, you look at them now, and the difference in flamboyant is they might have worn red trunks or tassels rather than than black trunks. And they had ring jackets. They had ring jackets, and as they got more babyface, the ring jacket got a little more elaborate and a little more elaborate. But if I remember correctly, what happened is as they turned heel, as they turned face, except for Enrique, for the other brothers, they eventually went from black to white. It kind of slowly evolved week from week.
So it was more subtle than Barry Windham's facial hair.
Yeah, yes, more subtle than that. But they didn't stay white. Once they were established as babyface, just because the Vachon brothers came in, and as we all know, all French Canadians are evil and mean, and in wrestling they're all terrible.
Well, not Rick Martel.
Well, but in general, I mean, it's the nexus of evil in the world.
Canadians?
French Canadians.
Oh, French Canadians.
Dr. Jerry Graham would have loved that.
If you had lived in the newsletter world of the 87, about the period of 87 through 90, that was a very common thread in the Observer and the Torch and
Bravo.
John Gallagher's old forum and etc. was how every French Canadian has to be a heel.
This is true. Yes.
Yeah, I mean they gotta be. They should be right now too.
By the way, Kurt, was the newsletter that you're referring to that you got before the mid 80s, was that Dobratz's?
Before the mid-'80s?
Or where you would get results or hear results from territories other than your own, was that through Ron Dobratz's?
No, I believe it or not, I never received Ron Dobratz's newsletter. I started getting newsletters in 1977, beginning with Tom Burke's Global Wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
And in 1979, along with Burke's, there was a guy named Bill Hill in New York who, at the time, put out the best result newsletter. It was like, I can't remember how many pages it was, but it was just thick and just packed with results. Had results from Japan, which back then you didn't come by easily. And I wondered how this guy afforded to, be able to put it was something like a 20-page newsletter that would go out every 2 or 3 weeks. This was long, before the Wrestling Observer, there was never a weekly newsletter.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know where he got the results, but it winds up that there was a security guard in a Xerox building in New York that would let several of the news sheet writers in after the building closed and copy off newsletters for free. So several of the New York area sheet writers were able to put out some pretty healthy journals, including Captain Lenny's Wrestling Journal, where I hope to God I saved a copy of it, because you've never seen a newsletter like Captain Lenny's Wrestling Journal.
Apart from Viva La Lucha.
Exactly. He almost equaled Captain Lenny's Wrestling Journal, which was 30 pages of typewritten results, and there was maybe 5 results on every page.
Oh, God.
With a very old typewriter where half the keys were misplaced, half the names were misspelled.
Oh, that reminds me of Dave Meltzer in the Observer and that flying E for years.
Oh, and Captain Lenny, he'd never stapled them to. He'd always paper clipped them together.
Oh, God.
The funny thing is, there was I will swear to this on a stack of Bibles as I go to my grave, but I saw a newsletter in 1975 originating from Florida that was an insider that, it had real names of the masked wrestlers that were wrestling in Georgia and Florida.
No way. Do you know who wrote it?
I have no idea. It wasn't mine. Somebody just showed it to me. Somebody had off the top of my head, I made a comment about Mr. Wrestling 2, and they go, "Oh, you mean Johnny Walker?" And I about flipped out, because that was the common scuttlebutt that we figured who it was, because he had worked in the territory for years before that. But I said, "How do you know that?" And he says, "Oh, I picked this up in Florida."
Oh, that's great.
And this was back when I was in high school, and I was like, it didn't occur to me that, there might be another issue next month or the month after that, and maybe I'd want to find out more about it. I just thought that, holy cow.
Yeah, the first kayfabe sheet where they actually broke kayfabe that I ever saw was a sheet called The Weasel's World of Wrestling, which was done by a guy named Norman Dooley, who at the time was Jim Cornette's best friend. And it was hysterical because he would go to some of the ICW shows, which I guess were some of the worst house shows you could ever go to. And I would wait for this newsletter just to hear a narration of how bad the matches were, how they saw wrestlers working out their high spots in the lobby while people were coming in. But he would only send it out to people who were smart at the time. He didn't charge for it. He'd only send it to correspondents who knew the biz. And I remember when Meltzer started doing his sheet, I think very few people will admit this today, but we all thought, wait a minute, what's he doing? He can't do that. He'll get in so much trouble. Everybody said that back then. And I guarantee you, everybody who said that will claim, oh, yeah, no, we never said that. We knew it was cool. But no, everybody was like, whoa, this kid's got balls.
That's funny. They didn't say that in Chicago, because how I found out about the Observer was they kept pushing it in the local newspaper, the Chicago Sun-Times. They had a guy there named Lon Gronke, and I first subscribed in 87, and at least in 85, maybe even late 84, he was pushing this thing. He was pushing. You really ought to, every wrestling fan ought to subscribe to the Wrestling Observer.
Steve,
well,
Steve,
since we have...
Wait, Kurt, wait.
Yeah?
You have to mention Odessa, what you wrote about your article for Odessa Steps magazine. Otherwise, Odessa's going to kill me.
What?
Kurt, Steve wrote an article for Odessa Steps magazine.
I did?
No, Steve.
Steve did.
Yes.
I did, but we can't mention it until Odessa calls in again.
Oh, great. Okay. So he's going to keep bugging me about it. He's going to keep bugging me about it.
This being responsible and holding down a job and actually working for a living, that's got to stop on Thursday nights at 7 o'clock Pacific time.
It's got to stop with all of us. There's got to be a cure for working,
Yeah.
I want to get paid just for, I don't know, just playing on the internet and silly stuff like that.
Haven't there been references in bios of Bruno Sammartino that even back in the 60s that he would get angry at newsletter writers for revealing they did the same match around the circuit every 30 days?
There were, in fact, I remember when Michael O'Hara put out Hulk Hogan's Fan Club newsletter, somebody in the office had Hogan tell O'Hara to stop printing the results from all the cities for that reason. There were a number of newsletters where people got on them for that. I remember Ed Moretti saying he used to have a newsletter that he had, that he couldn't hand out, or sell at Cal Powerless because Roy Shires didn't want him printing results from other territories. So yeah, there was a real. Well,
that's a brilliant reason. When the after magazines will, 3 months after the fact, during that time, tell you the results from other territories.
Yeah, this is exactly. Well, Shire, I guess, was in a class of all his own, which makes me realize just how cool Jeff Walton from the LaBelle office was.
No, Bixie's still here. He's listening.
He and Fredo are on the.
We're listening.
On the. I'm only getting paid by the. I'm not getting paid by the word. So.
If we were getting paid to do this, Bixie and I would actually be. This would be like a vacation for us.
Okay.
Very popular.
I find it weird, though, that now I'm actually getting paid to write about wrestling, and it's kind of weird.
You're getting paid to write about wrestling, Bix?
Well, there was the Slam thing I did, and now I'm just signed the contract that I'm now the manager officially of CageSideSeats.com.
Whoa.
That is way cool. Wow. Well, congratulations on that.
I refuse to say how much money it is for various reasons.
$1 million.
We know it's $1 million, Dick. Don't worry about that.
In Turkish lira.
That's right. So you can fund the Turkish Star Wars sequel.
This is more than internet money, so.
Now since
I should really try to make money though. I should put Google. I should start a website that just has Google ads and has the words cancer and fibromyalgia and all that everywhere.
and miracle cure.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Dixie, I know you're not making too much money, but how did you afford being able to sit next to Spike Lee at all the Knicks games?
Jew magic.
Magic? Mean Magic Johnson?
No. You see, we have these certain spells and and all that we come up with at the annual meeting.
New York is even more bitchin' than I thought.
By the way, Fredo, the Lakers are 3-1 now. Isn't that great?
3-1. They're still 3-1.
They have almost as good a run as the Psycho Circus.
They're undefeated now. They have a 5-game winning streak. They're catching up to Psycho Circus.
Now, since I have...
You sure they're not 3-1?
Since I have 4 of us on the line here, who all come from different regions, what does everybody here remember about roller derby as a child? Was it still in existence when you were a kid, Bix?
Yeah, I had the roller games restart with the alligator pit.
Okay, when they started getting all fancy schmancy.
Yeah, which I thought was fun, and they had very clear babyface heel things, and your various evil managers and all that. So I liked that, and it was especially compared to like a couple years later, we'd get. It might have been on Sports Channel America or something. There was more like of a plain type roller derby type thing that didn't have all the cool angles and storylines. But yeah, we got rock and roller games.
Okay, that was like in the late '80s, if I remember right.
Yes, and of course we got Roller Jam, in the late '90s, early 2000s.
And Steve, in your area, was there any version of the roller derby?
Just on TV, and I do remember Charlie Connerly big time.
Oh man, I was a few years too late.
I do remember he was the guy who always came across to me as the biggest star, and I really enjoyed the men's jams more than the women's. The women's, they had a few, but they just seemed to be too many less than athletic.
Not an Ann Calvello fan?
Not really. I really wasn't. I wasn't a non-fan, but it just didn't interest me as much. The men, I could see it looked like there could be serious athletic competition going on, even though there really wasn't.
I started watching here in Los Angeles in 1972. What was really fun about discovering roller derby is I actually discovered it before I started watching wrestling. And I'd see ads for roller derby, and our team was the Los Angeles Thunderbirds. And as a kid, I just thought, oh, it's a sport. It's some sort of roller skate sport. And so I turned it on one night, and it just happens to be during an interview with Danny Riley, who was the red-headed heel and the leader of Riley's Renegades. And he gets on the mic and says, I told you last week that I would hurt Rally Valadares and put him in the hospital. And I'm like 9 years old. It's like, what, why the hell would somebody want to do that? This is a sport, isn't it? Oh, it was beautiful being so naive and having no exposure to it first. But the reason I'm bringing it up is Fredo and I were guests of Danny Wolf this past Saturday at the Pomona Fairplex.
That would be Broadway Danny Wolf?
Broadway Danny Wolf, yes, the one and only.
Of FNN Score fame.
Yes, and being molested by Lucky Pierre fame. And he loves it.
I'm sure in his obituary that's going to be the first thing he said.
Oh, man.
Wolf, mostly known for being molested by Lucky Pierre.
Probably the only man to be molested by Lucky Pierre and do commentary with Lance Russell.
Yes, this is true. This is true. Not only does he get molested by Lucky Pierre, but he demanded an encore one night later in the evening.
Oh, we don't need to know about that.
And I'm not joking. He said it was the last Incredibly Strange show, and, I molested him in the first match, and then later in the night he says, hey, one of my friends didn't come till the middle of the show, so he didn't get to see me get pounced by you. Do it again. So, God bless Danny Wolf. But anyway, God bless him because he coaxed Fredo and I over to the revamped roller derby. Good old-school roller games. What's interesting about this is we went to find out the L.A. team was no longer the Thunderbirds. It's now the Firebirds. The Thunderbirds are no more due to a lawsuit by Bill Griffith, of the guy who was promoting roller games in this area about a year ago. But what is interesting is, I don't know how familiar you guys are with the difference between the roller derby and the roller games, the Northern California and the Southern California differences. Mm-hmm. Well, roller derby up north in California they had the faces and the heels, but it was played more like a sport, like a rough sport. And I didn't really see a lot of
Charlie and your Bay Area Bombers.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, you saw more of it than I did. So, but where roller games in Southern California was really, they were really good skaters, but there was a lot of high camp. Like, it was a lot like the LA wrestling. Ronnie Raines, who was a really good skater, when he did roller games, he was Ronnie the Psycho Raines and would always be drooling at the mouth and, mercilessly pummeling his opponents. There was Shirley Hartman, who would, she started out as the top heel in the area, and when she turned babyface, she was like the enforcer, and she'd take a baseball bat and go chasing the heels around with it. It was very gimmicky, and they'd have match races with stipulations. I don't know if they ever did like a hair versus hair, but they'd have really over-the-top stuff like the loser of the match race had to skate the rest of the the game in diapers or something like that.
But did they ever have iPod contra iPod?
They haven't done that. See, we're doing something new here. We're innovative. So, the roller derby is.
What kind of skates did they use?
It's still the same skates, I think.
They always use the standard old roller skates. No roller blades.
No roller blades.
What's interesting is the guy who's promoting these shows down here in Southern California, he's promoting them roller game style with lots of brawling and chair shots and people being thrown over the rails. But this is the same guy who's promoting the roller derby up in Northern California, and up there he's promoting it as standard old roller derby. So very interesting that we have one guy promoting two different schools at the same time.
But they're both worked.
Yes, they're both worked. And I still have not seen a shoot roller derby game. Most people I've talked to said that, I don't know. I guess there's a lot of appeal. What's that?
They say, well, it's theoretically possible, but...
Yeah, I heard they're not that entertaining. What was interesting is Brian Alvarez said several times that he went to two of the legit roller derby events, and one was where one of the teams was so better than the other team that it was pretty much a squash match and it was exciting, but when there was two teams who were on the same level, it was really bland and boring. So I've yet to attend one of the Derby Dolls games or, one of the shoot games, so I guess I should reserve judgment until I see it, but I guess I am old. I'm old school. I love the brawling. I love the campiness.
Sure, you might be old enough to skate now.
What's that?
You might be old enough to skate for the roller derby.
yes. That's the flaw in the roller derby plan. Is with the first thing Fredo and I noticed was, boy, a lot of these skaters are not very young. And in fact,
no young women basically in the.
Yeah, no young women. Yeah, the youngest skaters were guys, and we wondered if this had something to do with there's so much roller derby out there. Women's roller derby, there's scores of leagues everywhere, and we're wondering if they have a hard time recruiting people into traditional roller derby. I did get to meet my childhood crush, Honey Sanchez, who was married to Ralphie Valderas, and I just came up and introduced myself and said, I had the biggest crush on you when I was a kid. And she just looked at me and says, when you were a kid? Well, what happened? And I just hugged her and said, old crushes never die. And her daughter, Gina Valadares, skated last night, and her granddaughter did not skate because of an injury, but let's just say...
Not just that, she had a baby, too. So.
She had a baby, yes. So Honey Sanchez is now a great-grandmother.
Was the father Val Venus?
Steve Sims, you're high.
No, he said he can't come to CMLL because his wife's about to give birth.
Oh, that's right. I that took me a minute. I'm high. Okay, I stand corrected. But let's just say the Valadares family has very good genes because Gina Valadares grew up a really attractive woman, and the granddaughter, Megan Martinez, is drop-dead gorgeous, and I don't think you'll find anybody who disagrees. But yeah, Fredo, Danny said that that baby can't be more than a few months old, but Danny Wolf said she actually skated a few weeks ago but got hurt.
Oh, she did? Oh.
So?
Yeah, because I remember the last time we went to a show, she was still there by herself. Yeah, she wasn't pregnant or anything. Yeah, and this baby, this is like a newborn. Yeah. It's kind of, I don't know, wasn't it too cold to have a baby out there? We've been to Lucha shows. Isn't it funny? We've been to Lucha shows where parents leave their kids in the front during a high spot, and we're worried about a little kid breathing at a roller coaster.
I know, we're more worried about people's children than they are at a lot of those shows.
We didn't even bring up that little kid almost falling off the stand.
Oh, yes. I was, we were in these bleachers, and this kid practically fell right through the bleachers onto the floor below, and, we freaked out more than the parents.
That happened to me once. at the circus.
Oh, no way. Oh, and what a horrible place to have it happen at the circus.
Did you fall through all the way through? Or?
Yeah, fell all the way through.
Oh, circuses are where most nightmares are born.
No, this kid actually, they caught him right, like as soon as he was going through. The mom
that scared the crap out of me.
Yeah, we were like, holy
especially
shit.
Circuses with monster clowns and murder clowns. And
This was the circus, though, where I saw the guy who taught Ricky Steamboat how to breathe fire.
Oh.
I told that story, didn't I?
No, you did not.
I didn't? Okay. So the fire breathing guy comes out. And he does this stuff, and it's not that good. And, my dad's saying to my sister, he's not as good as Ricky Steamboat. He's really not as good as Ricky Steamboat. And then they say, and now he will do the fire-breathing technique that he taught to Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, the volcano. And then he did it.
That's awesome. That is so cool.
Man, you can't please some people. Hey, Bixie, don't you have a show? Don't you have a show coming up next weekend to go to?
Oh,
okay. That, folks, is an example of meltzering. We've meltzered successfully.
Yay! Bixie, don't you have a show to go to next weekend?
The Woodside show. That's the 22nd. So that is, I guess, a week from Sunday.
Cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'll go. The tickets are kind of expensive. They're $30 to $50.
Is this the Santo match? The Santo show?
Yeah, I get the feeling it's not going to draw.
Yeah.
Why are they charging bucks?
Well, it's a big crew, I guess, to bring to New York.
They're insane?
Yeah, because they're bringing in Porky and Blue Demon, Cassandro.
What? Well, just think of how many airline seats they have to buy so Porky can sit down.
This is true.
Imagine the look Porky gets on a plane.
Why not? Okay, why not just fly in like Santo and Cassandro and just
fill out the rest of the cars?
Yeah, just put masks on half the local guys. You know what I mean? Seriously, I'm not joking. Why?
Or bring in the Chakar guys or whatever. Yeah.
Now you sound like a promoter.
Big.
Yeah, but
actually,
think about it.
I should try to get comped again. I should see if I can find who's.
You really should. Okay, I'm trying to picture. A Lucha fan there saying, $30 to $50. Santo is there. Oh, if only Super Porky and 5 other wrestlers were there, I might go.
Well, they're also promoting it as a family show, too, because it's a matinee, and it has, for the whole family on the poster.
For the whole family? What family has $300 fucking bucks to spare for the whole family? My God.
Yeah, here we would have just booked White Pork versus Hijo Santo.
Yes, White Pork.
Yeah, White Pork, the most hated heel in all of the planet right now.
In fact, does anybody have photos of White Pork?
I have no idea who this is.
You know, we don't have photos, and we've been to shows, and he's been there.
He has been. And White Pork is a wrestler who looks like something out of one of David Lynch's nightmares. Not something that David Lynch would put on film as a nightmare, but something in one of his actual nightmares. He is a wrestler whose mask is a giant pig's head. And I actually worked with him once. I worked with him in the Six-Man. He was actually easy to work with, but I remember just that mask. I mean, my God.
So it's sort of like the moment where you the first time you ever see the head of a roasted pig.
Yeah, exactly. But this
you're not going to tell me this is Augie Loya under the hood.
No, this is just a local luchador. Nice guy, decent worker, but very scary looking. Very frightening.
There's Augie. You keep describing Augie.
Oh dear, Steve. You know, you might have even another stipulation match if you keep going.
What? Loser loses his job at Disney?
Okay, Augie Loya. Now it's going to be Thunder White Pork Machine.
Yeah. Since you mentioned that, I have to ask, Kurt, you've seen the Thundercats versus Fantasio's mask match from like 20 years ago, haven't you?
Yes, I did. Bob Barnett sent that to me about a year ago.
Is that the greatest match in the history of the world, or is it not?
I love that match. That was a one, and I was so happy Fantasios went over too. Not that I didn't think they wouldn't.
Bixie, you don't know this, but Kurt and I actually discussed this. I kid you not, we discussed this in phone conversation 18 years ago. But one of the most shocking, literally shocking, surprising things that ever happened in Lucha Libre in Mexican wrestling tradition is when the Thundercats actually won the National Trios title for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
That was a shocker.
Kurt was telling me nobody could believe they gave it to the kiddie promotions.
In fact, I even remember talking to Conan at the time, and he was sounding surprised. He was saying that's not the type of person they give championship. He didn't sound bothered by it. He just sounded like
he was
stunned.
That is just the most brilliant match, though, because you're watching, and then it's like, oh, God, the Thundercats are bleeding, and the masks are being ripped. Oh, God, they're tearing each other's faces off.
It's like the cartoons have gone mad.
Yeah, I know. It would be a great match even without that, but it's just this whole new level of surreal art.
I agree. It reminds me of in 1991 seeing Popey Tekis versus Super Muñeco in a mask versus hair match. And, you know, neither of them were the greatest technical workers, but it was so cool because they start off the mask with Super Muñeco going into the ring with this huge bag of candy. And he doesn't just throw it out into the audience. He's throwing it just all around him into the ring so kids would come into the ring and mob him. And then suddenly you see the kids run like hell because Popey Texas storms the ring and chases all the kids out of there and then beats the living hell out of Super Muñeco and busts him open. And Super Muñeco is bleeding like a stuck pig, and there was something unusually nightmarish looking about it.
Please tell me you have a tape of this.
Sadly, it was not taped.
Oh.
The only thing that was taped was the angle leading up to it that was done a few weeks beforehand, and that was nothing to write home about.
There are pictures of this, though, if you go back into Boxy Lucha at the time.
Okay.
Are there? I actually have some photos of the match.
Muñeco bled a gusher.
He did, and Popey bled pretty decently, too. And Popey actually did a tope.
Wow.
Our man Popey.
Another rhyme, almost.
And now I found my own personal star of death.
Tell us that was filmed on high-quality DVDs.
Exactly, like all Tijuana matches are.
Yeah, like everything back in the...
And then AAA had to do TV tapings there, and they ruined it, man. They ruined it.
Were you at Star of Death?
At Star of Death?
The Star of Death cage match, whatever it was?
No, I was not.
No.
Nobody went, except for Bob Barnett, probably.
No, Bob didn't go.
Yeah, Bob didn't go.
No, just Dave Meltzer's the only person I know who ever described it. I think Ron Rivera was there, but they
I don't think it exists. I don't think
it doesn't exist. But the thing, I was always curious, though, why did they build a 12-sided ring for one house show?
It sounds kind of ridiculous, though.
What I had heard about that was if they had thought, once they got in there, all the wrestlers gave the report that this sucks, working in this sucks. And they had fully intended to use it more times, but people just got such a bad reaction from the guys.
Wow, so it wasn't even just the audience; it was the wrestlers that said, "This sucks working in this, huh?"
This is yes.
And the 12-sided. It was before the.
Good to have. It's good to have a side to play to, and they're comfortable with how they've been trained and learn. Running the ropes, running across 12-sided or 6-sided ropes just feels so different, so odd.
Do you think this is...
By the way, Fredo, can I ask a question?
Sure. What is it?
You read the Cubs fan site, right?
Yeah.
You know that there's a memorial show for Grant Davies Jr.?
Uh-huh.
With, everybody in that area who's ever wrestled is on the card?
Uh-huh.
In the third match is Baby Marvin. How did they let a 1.5-year-old kid get in the ring?
That's how old he is now, right? I mean, when is he going to come back on TV?
He can. He's just learning to wrestle.
Yeah, but that's not TV. Come on.
He's probably already bigger than Suki as it is.
Yeah.
And less drunk. And less drunk, too.
He could be Cuije.
He could be a run-in by Baby Huey.
He could be the new Cuije now, that considering we apparently have a new Alebrije. Is it a new Alebrije?
I do believe it's a new one. The guys at the Reforma podcast pretty much said that they were all convinced it was a new guy too.
Oh, that sucks. What are they going to do? The other guy could just change his name to Alebrije. Alebrije.
I like that idea.
Alebrije. I mean, what's so hard about that?
See, this Baby Marvin match is a 4-on-3 match, so I'm presuming it's a 3-on-3 plus one guy gets a 1.5-year-old kid to tag into every once in a while.
You should use him as a weapon.
Use
him like a baseball bat.
If you've seen the movie Precious, you could just bring the baby home from the hospital and just start throwing him like a football.
Speaking of movies, I want to let Dixie Demon know that on my number one queue is Sleepaway Camp.
Yes.
As soon as I send in my other movies to Netflix, I'm getting Sleepaway Camp, and I'm looking forward to it.
Wonderful.
Well, my friends,
I highly recommended. So
you've seen it?
What's that?
No, Steve, you have seen Sleepaway Camp.
I have seen Sleepaway Camp.
And that is it. Now, obviously, we're not spoiling him, but is it the greatest ending in the history of motion pictures?
Almost.
What movie would you say is ahead of it?
Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Okay.
A great movie. I have actually seen that movie more times than I've seen the Rocky Horror Picture Show, which makes me a bona fide nerd.
The police arriving back in the Middle Ages is
that was brilliant.
A great conceit. But this may be number 2.
That was. I'm one of those who probably remember 3/4 of the lines of that movie. That was great. I loved it.
And none of them will be on your new iPod next October.
Oh, man. You're trying to dig the dagger deep, my friend.
No, this will only be I'm King of the World.
Oh, man. Oh, dear. Now, if I win, I got to get some sort of iPod. I don't even know how to prank you with an iPod. I don't even know what your weak points are.
Well, I promise, because it's only fair to set up the stipulations that I'm going to send you my entire iPod list so you can see what I do listen to, and you can deduce from the rest what I don't listen to.
Will your iPod include a One app?
It won't include any apps.
Oh, come on.
This is not going to be iTouch versus iTouch. This is just iPod versus iPod.
Oh, the old school iPod. Okay.
And we're going to make the county of Orange and the city of Santa Ana hear the the feral screams of someone in agony of listening to the worst playlist ever created.
Oh man, I'll be straitjacketed.
I'm even thinking of stooping to Michael Bolton.
Oh, man, that's low.
That is
low there, Dr. Lisa.
Oh, Lord. Followed by Afternoon Delight, no doubt.
The stinging hernia.
I still want to press civil charges against that group for doing Afternoon Delight.
There you go. Keep telling me what you want on this.
Oh, gee, what did I do? Oh, I just went and did it, didn't I? Oh, my God. Oh, seriously, I wanted to file civil charges against that group for emotional distress. There's some music that just should be outlawed.
ABBA? Did you say?
I love ABBA.
Oh, okay. I thought you said that.
I love ABBA. I don't know if you know this, but the match that Larry Doyle and I had when he was La Femme Nikita Koloff, the one that, allegedly got the club closed down because we were performing a live sex act, or so they said. We were fighting over an ABBA CD.
And what was the live sex act? I haven't heard this story.
Well, my foreign object was this big giant dildo.
Okay.
At first I started beating with a dildo, but then I started deep-throating it.
This was as Lucky Pierre?
No, this was as Baby Bitch Drummond. This was about a year before Lucky Pierre was born.
Okay, so this was Baby Bitch Drummond.
Baby Bitch Drummond.
Mm-hmm.
And so
back in his young, carefree days.
Exactly, when I was a lot looser. So I deep-throated the dildo, and then I spit a money shot in his face. That was the foreign object. And then he gave me a power bomb and started humping me in the ass. Well, the Vice Squad was there, and this is a true story.
Why were they there in the first place?
Because they did not like the owner of the club, and they were looking for reasons to close him down.
Mm-hmm.
So I would love to say that we were the reason. We were so vile that we were the reason we got the club closed down, but they were just looking for reasons to shut the place down. The next show they showed up, and before the show started, they got in the ring and started flashing badges and saying nobody can leave, and they said they were going to search everybody for drugs, and so Johnny Legend, and Dan Farron run back to the dressing room. They said, if anybody has any drugs, you better flush them fast. And so I announced to everybody, and all the guys in the dressing room are like, we don't have anything. And this one guy, Bill Judd, who was known for coming 3 sheets to the wind, just went into panic into his bag and is ruffling for everything, is running to the men's room as fast as he can.
Were these police officers strippers?
That only happens in movies, sadly, where the police officer is actually some gorgeous blonde stripper. But eventually the club did get closed down. I think it was, I don't know if they officially shut it down themselves or if the guy was tired of fighting them. But yeah, the guy called me a few weeks after that and was explaining what happened. He said, "What did you guys do in the ring?" And I told him, and he just he was in disbelief, like, that was the live sex act? And I said, yeah, I'm afraid so. Sorry I couldn't give you something juicier there, but, I'm only willing to work the gimmick so far. Yeah, Lucky Pierre actually was not born until the following year, and that was on a total whim.
Now I know that once I get my IWA Mid-South tapes converted, I need to send you the low-life Louis Ramos match from one of the King of the Death matches where he uses a barbed wire dildo.
Oh, geez, yeah, I do have to see that.
Actually, they may have put that on DVD, but...
I love that, combining innovation with just pure crudeness, and you get to choose which one is innovative and which one is crude.
I'm not sure if I think it made contact with someone's butt and or mouth.
That's incredibly strange.
This is. We got to get a show going again. We got to get something incredibly strange going soon. It has to happen.
Now, I'm not sure if that's the same King of the Death matches, though, that also featured a fan that brought the weapon called Hardcore Bart, which was some cheap, knockoff Bart Simpson doll with thumbtacks and barbed wire.
Oh, God.
That's cute. Well, on that note, we better wrap this baby up.
Yeah, we don't want to get cut off again like that.
I know, really. Just when the show was getting good, we got to cut off at the 2-hour mark a few weeks ago.
Bad about Dixie disappearing on it.
I do have one last technical question.
Yes, what is that?
What are the plans for the podcast of 2 weeks from this evening?
There are no plans. What do you have in mind, my good man?
Actually, I don't think we're going to do one in 2 weeks.
It is Thanksgiving evening, so...
Yeah, I'm going to be busy.
Oh! Yeah, I don't think I'll follow the old school wrestling tradition where we have a show on Thanksgiving evening. I know that was very popular to do in the old days of wrestling, but I think we will be
busy that day.
Be busy, or to sound really hip, we're dark that day.
Well, I have a question about that.
And this here Thursday will be a Christmas Eve, and a New Year's Eve will be a Thursday.
Oh, yes.
Anyway, yes, Bixie.
I have a question. With the wrestling Thanksgiving tradition, you always read the logic is, after everyone eats turkey, what are they going to do? And I'm thinking, wait, who are these people who are eating Thanksgiving dinner so early that they have plenty of time to get to a wrestling show after dinner?
I can tell you're from the north. In the south, yes.
That's
absolutely. With the long history of the midday meal being the large meal and the big meal of the day, we rarely had Thanksgiving dinner that started after 3, and most of my lifetime it was well before that.
Yeah, they did not have such shows here on the West Coast.
Or in the Northeast.
Yeah, Thanksgiving, Christmas dinner was always a nighttime game.
We'd never get there on time.
Yes, in the southern areas of the country, southeastern and southwestern rural areas, where there's a lot of farming in the history and stuff, the 1 o'clock meal was always the main meal of the day.
So they took it seriously, that thing about not eating before you go to bed, huh?
Well, you didn't want as much food because you'd had 90% of your food was between your 6 a.m. meal and your 1 p.m. meal, and there wasn't much to eat at 6 in the evening.
Well, I guess the other thing I want to say just before we sign off, this is totally out of left field, but I want to recommend to anybody who has the Sundance Channel to check out a great documentary. I believe they're re-airing it in the wee hours on the 14th, and the day after tomorrow. A great documentary called You're Gonna Miss Me, which is a documentary on the life of Rocky Erickson, who amazingly is still playing music today, and who was the frontman for a psychedelic band called the 13th Floor Elevators out of Austin, Texas in the 60s. And this is one of the most compelling documentaries I ever saw, so much that I'm watching it a second time and will probably watch it a third time. He is a man who not only suffered from schizophrenia, but 2 different people in his life, a police officer who sent him to jail for marijuana possession, and his mother did everything in their power to really wreck the guy's life. And he had a brother who became a concert musician who amazingly kept things together despite their dysfunctional family, and actually got custody of Rocky Erickson just a few years ago. It's very unsettling at times, but it's very, very good. It was made about 4 years ago before it was even concluded, before the actual end of the story. And hard as it is to watch at times, to jump to the finish, Rocky Erickson is playing music again, despite a lot of efforts to really pretty much ruin his life. And anybody who even has an inkling of interest in, that era of music or family dysfunction, this is one of the best documentaries I've seen in a long time.
Is this better than air guitar?
I still have not seen that. I guess I should give that one a shot, too. Especially if they...
I don't remember the name of it, but it was kind of entertaining.
I have heard of that. I have heard of that documentary.
I just forgot the name.
As long as we're signing off on recommendations, and I have no website to plug, I'll recommend the documentary "Be Here to Love Me" about Townes Van Zandt.
Oh, that sounds. I have not heard of that one.
He's a country music singer and songwriter, and it's way out in left field. It could probably be G-rated, but it's way old. Well, it's not way old. It's 6 or 7 years old, and it's a real sad one.
Oh, I would like to see that because I do know about Towns Van Zandt, but I did not know there was a documentary made about him.
The ultimate quintessential man with $1 million talent that just never hit it.
Wow.
And
well,
now
there you have it, folks. 2 recommendations.
Well, let me get mine.
Very good. I'm sorry. What's
now, Bixie?
What about mine?
You can go.
We're saving the best for last, Fredo.
That's right. Shoot, guys, shoot. Tell us.
I have no recommendation. I just watched all these crappy movies this week. So I watched G.I. Joe. So
you have no documentary you've ever seen that you can recommend?
Yeah, but I don't remember the names now.
Okay, then that's your homework for next week, Fredo.
I always forget all the documentary names.
Go to the documentary section of the library.
Yeah.
The Fog of War. Bowling for Columbine.
The Sonny Bono marijuana documentary that they showed us in junior high. That was awesome.
Anyway, I finally watched a few weeks ago Chasing Ghosts, which is another one of those classic video game player documentaries that was being made around the same time as King of Kong.
I loved King of Kong. That was great.
King of Kong was the one with the great baby face and the great heel, right?
That was, yeah.
You're listening to Dave Meltzer too much.
So Chasing Ghosts, this is a video game? Is that like a Pac-Man or something?
It's about, they're basing the title on, the Pac-Man type idea. It's, a lot of the same people who were in King of Kong, which, by the way, if you have not seen the DVD, I highly recommend you rent it for all of the extras because there's a lot of interesting footage that was on the movie. And also they explain, by the way, on that the whole movie was pretty much made in editing. They had like thousands of hours of footage of different classic game stuff that they made into that movie. But anyway, Chasing Ghosts is about pretty much the guys who were in the Life magazine shoot that they talk about in King of Kong.
Yes. And
they go into all that and, a bunch of interesting archive footage. And the best scene in the movie, from the sheer weird humor perspective, is Rob Mursek, the referee in the head referee for Twin Galaxies and King of Kong, is talking about his art collection and how he spends all this money on art. And he opens this piece up, and it is a very gynecologically graphic pinup painting of some sort.
Oh, my Lord. Oh, my Lord.
He shows all his different stuff, and he's apparently spent like $300,000 on all these different pin-up art that he talks about.
Wow.
But he seems to not understand the certain appropriateness and lack thereof.
I love it. So there, folks, you have 3 very good recommendations. And you'll have a 4th one next week from Alfredo. What will Alfredo recommend for us next week?
I recommend don't watch G.I. Joe.
Fredo, I'm going to take your advice, and I will not watch G.I. Joe.
It's just I'm not a comic guy, but it's just one of those crappy movies. Really
just one of those crappy shoot-'em-up movies?
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, Lordy. Oh, Lordy.
Compared to the animated.
Maybe Fredo can give us a review of the new Blue Panther documentary next week.
There's a Blue Panther documentary?
Is it?
There is.
Really?
Is it short enough?
That'd be fascinating.
I have no idea how to see it, but there is one.
Yeah, there is one, but apparently you have to know where to... I don't know.
Okay, well, we have covered so much tonight, and... it's been great having you guys. It's always awesome having Dr. Lucha on. It's always awesome having the Bixie Demon on.
Mm-hmm.
The paid to write about wrestling Bixie. Don't forget about that.
To a certain extent.
I know. I salute him big time.
I'm now in the elite company of, I don't know.
And
I'm going to try to finish whatever joke I was going to start.
And I hope Conan will not be mad at me for telling the Tim Tall-3 story, and if he is, we'd always love to hear his version of what happened.
I think Bix is shocked that he's getting paid. That's pretty much it.
I'm impressed as hell. Anybody who can get paid for writing, not just wrestling, anybody who can get paid for writing.
Period.
I salute them. That's
on the internet, basically.
Bixie, you know you have to report this as income, but therefore it also allows you to take the tickets at the Santos show and deduct half the cost as a business expense.
Well, I don't think it's enough that I'm going to have to report it, but I don't think it's enough that I'm going to have to pay any taxes on it.
So, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget to check out slambamjam.com, where Fredo has some of the most bitchin' DVDs ever, known to mankind.
And how about that loserleavestown.net?
What's that?
How about that loserleavestown.net?
And that is another totally bitchin' website. Not necessarily totally bitchin' DVDs, but totally bitchin' interviews. Really good interviews with the likes of Lance Russell, Cassandro, T.J. Perkins, and some dick named Kurt Brown.
And Bill Dundee.
Bill Dundee. Don't forget Bill Dundee.
And
Gypsy Joe. Gypsy Joe's another one.
That's not a great interview, though.
This is true. But you didn't have much to work with there, my friend. You did your best.
No, but I did thankfully get, Rob Bahari did thankfully feed me that question to ask him the story about his penis.
Oh, God.
And that, my friends, is reason enough.
Yes.
To listen to the Gypsy Joe interview.
And listen to Dr. Lucha on Figure 4 Daily.
Yes, every other week, where next time he will bring up the verb meltzering, won't you, Dr. Lucha?
Only if I start talking over Brian.
Meltzering, don't forget to bring it up.
And Dr. Lucha will discuss the Conan Cibernetico feud next week, or in 2 weeks.
Yes. And
I'm hoping to finally know the answer of the question behind the Psycho Circus.
Oh, yeah, there is another one.
There was so much that was not covered and so much that needs to be said. And then there's, of course, standtheembryo.com, where you can... Recently, I've just been posting a ton of trivia on there. Hopefully, I'll write something of some substance soon again, but we shall see. So, ladies and gentlemen, until next time.
I was actually thinking you were going to write something about the Fedor and then Brett Rogers show.
You didn't watch it.
You know what? I have to become re-inspired because the most important match in mixed martial arts history was Junior Dos Santos versus Mirko Cro Cop. And after writing that, I felt just like inspirationally exhausted, and I got to recharge my batteries because that was like a cornerstone match in martial arts history as it pertains today.
Yeah, well, there's no better way to recharge the batteries than listening to a little Celine Dion.
Charge batteries or make me short circuit. Which are you trying to do, dude? Fredo, where's the third Bardo, man? Can't you crank it right now? I wonder here I'm 5 years ahead of my time, more than ever.
It's inevitable. You're going down.
Yes. Oh. Yeah. I see stars in the sky suddenly. They're not stars. They're crystals of mom cells powder. Yeah, I got power. Steve Sims, you contrast me with all the MP3 playlists you got to... Oh, the music's gone.
I thought the music was too loud.
What? Is that Crazy World of Arthur Brown or something?
What a rush. Oh, the Steve Sims Vandal Drum & feud is building, folks.
Yes, and next week there'll be nothing more to listen to, or in 2 weeks, maybe we'll just do 2 hours of this.
Actually, that would be well. It's 2 weeks.
We should try that.
Isn't it next week we'll do it? 2 weeks we won't?
Next week it's going to be a freeform Thursday again, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, and then in 2 weeks we won't do a show because we'll be busy.
Yes, we'll be eating turkey and getting sick. I'll probably be eating turkey and try to go running afterwards and puke.
I'll be babysitting. What are you talking about?
You're smarter than I am, my friend.
That will be after the turkey.
I have to babysit. I've been recruited to babysit that week.
Oh, look at you! You are very...
You already know. You know the story.
Possible.
For Thanksgiving?
Yeah, you know the story.
Oh, wait. Yes, you did. I take that back. You know, you're a good uncle.
My sister's having a baby in 2 weeks, I think, or next week.
He is going to be an uncle for the third time.
Yeah.
Wow.
He will have his first nephew.
Who will be wearing a Cibernetico mask.
That's right.
But not in the news.
But not yet. You will not see these pictures on the internet, ladies and gentlemen, or they'll be held to pay.
Adult friend finder doesn't have to worry.
Yes, then you'll have to, if that does happen, you'll have a stipulation match with the one, the only Alfredo Esparza, and then there will be hell to pay.
Okay, well.
See you all next week.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, if you're in Southern California and you see light streaking across the sky, it is not a shooting star. What is it, gentlemen? It is a heavenly handful of Montel powder. I'm telling you.